No arena where legends rise and fall. The shadows cast by uncertainty can weigh heavier than any scoreboard tonight. The Golden State Warriors stand at that precipice, a swirling tempest of franchise futures, contract chess matches, and the ghosts of what once was and what might still be. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where raw truths collide with splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat. The saga of Jonathan Kuminga, arguably one of the most electrifying, yet mercurial talents in the league, is inching toward a climax that could alter the Warriors' narrative for years to come. After months of tug-of-war tension, whispers in the NBA corridors suggest that Kuminga, the 22-year-old forward whose game has danced between dazzling potential and frustrating inconsistency, might finally be ready to accept Golden State's offer and return for the next season. But beneath that surface lies a complex tapestry of ambition, value, and hard truths, the kind of storyline that embodies everything the Splash Brothers era taught us about the marriage of talent and team chemistry. Kuminga's camp is held out for a contract north of $30 million annually, a shining ambition bolstered no doubt by the historic benchmark Jalen Johnson set with his monstrous 5-year, $150 million deal, a figure that stirred expectations, not just in Kuminga's mind, but throughout the entire Warriors front office. Yet Golden State, ever the pragmatic juggernaut in managing its salary cap and rotation flexibility, has only dangled offers in the $20 million per year neighborhood. A figure designed as a strategic pivot point, they want a manageable deal that could keep Kuminga as a tradable asset, sensing the lack of a burning market for him elsewhere. It's a negotiation charged not just by numbers, but by desire or the lack thereof, because Kuminga reportedly does not want to return to the Warriors, adding layers of emotional intrigue that could fracture the delicate equilibrium necessary for a championship chase. ESPN's Anthony Slater detailed a scenario where Kuminga, despite his reservations, might relent for a pay structure akin to Johnson's, but Golden State's firm stance has kept that deal off the table. And here's where the plot thickens. The agent of Kuminga dismissed claims that they ever turned down a $30 million offer last season, insisting they wouldn't walk away from such money, thereby deepening the mystery surrounding what kind of price and future vision the young star truly holds. In the shadow of all this, we glimpse the paradox of Kuminga's talent flashes of brilliance and undeniable skill are intertwined with nagging doubts about his consistency and fit, qualities that have undoubtedly spooked rival teams and made front office brass in Golden State wary. Meanwhile, on the Summer League stage, where the Warriors' young blood showed promising sparks, sharpshooter Gabe Madsen exploded with a 22-point-6 triple barrage against Utah, earning an Exhibit 10 contract not with the Warriors, but the Miami Heat. This development amplifies the narrative of a pipeline of talent that Golden State produces but struggles to retain. A poignant echo of the "we believe" underdog spirit that built their dynasty, yet now mixes hope with heartache. Madsen's journey, from modest minutes at Cincinnati to a 4-year Utah tenure, culminating incompletely resolved before a blistering summer showing, tells the story of how the Warriors' developmental prowess remains revered, even if roster retention feels like sand slipping through their fingers. Meanwhile, back in the trenches of Frontcourt strategizing, veteran big man Al Horford looms as a cornerstone of the Warriors' stretch 5 plan. Or should he finally ink the widely expected deal? But Golden State's bet on a 39-year-old Horford to carry the frontline weight comes with cautions. Young big men Tracy Jackson-Davis and Quintum Post might lighten the load during the grueling grind of an 82-game season, but come playoff intensity, their inexperience might falter, thrusting Horford's resilience into critical spotlight. The franchise's quiet yet lingering interest in Nikola Vucevic, the 34-year-old two-time All-Star, teases a tantalizing what-if, once considered a strong trade target before Golden State settled on Horford. Vucevic's stagnant trade market and burgeoning buyout rumors cast him as a potential mid-season lifeline, Someone who could bring offensive firepower, arguably surpassing Horford's, if not matching his defensive versatility. NBA insider Jake Fisher's insights underscored the peril and promise of this potential pivot. Vujicic's hefty $21.5 million expiring contract has deterred suitors wary of defensive liabilities, but a buyout would flip the script, offering Golden State a strategic veteran presence that might shield stars like Curry and Draymond Green from wear and tear, a necessity for contending in the notoriously brutal Western Conference. Speaking of that Western gauntlet, the Warriors face a daunting reality as they inch toward the 2025-26 campaign. Despite harboring the radiant talents of Steph Curry and Draymond Green, plus the addition of Jimmy Butler's brash competitiveness, the roster remains lean after off-season moves that saw Kevin Looney depart, while the additions of second-round draft picks Alex Tui and Will Richard offer developmental promise, but no immediate solution to the depth crisis. Anthony Slater's sobering analysis reveals a fragile roadmap. Just one injury, whether a hamstring tweak to Curry or a sprained ankle sidelining Green, and the Warriors could quickly find themselves relinquishing ground in a stacked Western Conference where roughly 10 teams harbor legitimate playoff aspirations. The picture here sharply contrasts with the Thunder, whose depth cushions them from similar woes, casting the Warriors' reliance on health and veteran savvy into near Blade Runner territory where every step matters. And yet, when the spotlight shines fully on a healthy Golden State lineup, Slater remains optimistic about the team's championship potential, noting how, with a full-strength core, the Warriors can pose an existential threat to nearly any Western contender, say perhaps the Thunder's youthful fury. It's a delicate balance. We remember too well how last season's second-round exit, triggered by Curry's untimely hamstring injury, signaled the razor-thin margins that separate triumph from heartbreak in Golden State's latest chapter, reminding us that the NBA is not a sprint but a punishing marathon that tests every ounce of commitment and endurance. And while the Warriors' second-round 22-5 record alongside Butler, Curry, and Green dazzled, it unfolded against an artificially soft schedule and an explosive but finite burst from Curry's 10-game scoring tier, not a blueprint for 82 games of grind. The new season's early days, the first 15 games, as Slater predicts, will tell us everything about whether Golden State's veteran core can sustain the brilliance that once defined the Splash era, or if the inevitable physical toll will amplify their vulnerabilities. Meanwhile, the ever-complicated Jonathan Kuminga trade saga compounds the urgency and the risk calculations for the Warriors. Both Sacramento and Phoenix have expressed interest in Kuminga, but Golden State's demands to receive not only a first-round pick but also a promising young player without assuming toxic contracts have chilled potential deals, leaving Kuminga's future in a stalled limbo that tests front office patience and strategy. Devin Booker is reportedly one of the few Suns players who might fit the Warriors' mold, but even that prospect seems remote. Kuminga himself shows no signs of rushing toward a resolution, a silent poker face confident that the current deadlock will eventually bend to his and the organization's will. This stalemate exposes deeper challenges. The Warriors must balance respecting a rising star's ambitions with their own blueprint to maintain championship contention, all while navigating an unforgiving salary cap landscape and a Western Conference fiercely hungry for ascendance. As for the coaching staff, led by the ever-astute Steve Kerr, the calculus grows more intricate. Whether to push for standstill retention or pursue aggressive sign-and-trade maneuvers could shape the season's narrative arc, especially as the franchise weighs the long-term impact of Kuminga's role, development, and stability versus his leverage in the trade market. As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, my pulse is racing just writing this nerve-wracking, adrenaline-pumping saga that harks back to the glory and grit that defined the Splash era's peaks and the fragile heartbeats beneath its swells. Are we witnessing the ignition point for a dazzling new title run, or could this be the subtle crack that splinters our cherished legacy? The answers lie buried in the next moves, the whispered phone calls of front offices, the grit of a player eager for validation, and the undying hope of a fan base that once believed when the odds were impossibly stacked against them. Drop your unfiltered takes in the comments. I'll be right there, heart in hand. If you felt that chill deep in your bones when you read through the Kuminga standoff and the riddle of the Warriors' front court plans, then I need you to pour that fire into the comments right now, because this isn't just a chapter closing. It's a saga detonating. The tension inside Chase Center isn't simmering. It's a volcano trembling on the edge of eruption. And every single move, whisper, or silence from the brass and locker room could be the spark that either reignites our dynasty or fractures it beyond recognition. Think about it. Here we stand, Warriors in the truest sense, standing tall on the ashes of 5 straight finals runs. A dynasty built on brilliance and grit, now staring into a future where ambition, pride, and strategy collide like thunderclaps. Jonathan Kuminga, young, raw, lightning quick, has become more than a player holding his agency. He's become the embodiment of a crossroads for Golden State, the player whose contract talk is less about numbers and more about identity. Will he choose allegiance to the crest of the Bay, or crumble under the weight of dollar signs and ill-fitted dreams? The fact that his camp publicly denied ever turning down $30 million only deepens a mystery that cuts like a knife. Is this a smokescreen, leverage, or a genuine belief that riding tethered to Golden State is a fate worse than drifting into the unknown? And while this tug-of-war plays out, the shadows cast by the roster's fragility loom larger than ever. Al Horford, the seasoned warrior once a pillar of Miami's finals runs, could be our frontline anchor, but the whispers are loud that 39 years of wear and tear might not carry us deep into postseason hell. His body's a ticking clock, a gamble. On experience over explosiveness, betting that his cerebral defense and savvy veteran presence will slow the tidal wave of younger, hungrier opponents. And looming in the backdrop is Nikola Vujovic, that once shimmering target now caught in trade limbo. A mirage on draft day that, if freed by a buyout, could flood our paint with complimentary scoring and perhaps give Curry, Draymond, and Butler a smokescreen of rest and resilience. But that possibility, tempting as it is, forces us to confront the painful calculus of aging stars, the salary cap labyrinth, and a defense that, let's be honest, can look shaky in the seams when the heat turns up. Speaking of heat, the sheer ferocity of this Western Conference feels like a knife slicing through Warriors' ambitions. The Thunder, blistering with youthful chaos, the defensive steel of the Nuggets, the unpredictable smash of the Clippers, and the ever-menacing Lakers tower over a Warriors squad that can hardly afford an injury. This fragile juggernaut leans on the miracle of Curry's legs and Draymond's unyielding intensity to reach heights many think have already flickered out. And yet, despite all that vulnerability, when the trio is fully firing, with Jimmy Butler's competitive flame lighting the furnace, Golden State still has that terrifying, explosive potential that can break open a series, a playoff run, a season. It's this razor's edge where everything unfolds. The beauty of the Splash era has always been that no matter the adversity, the Warriors show up hotter than hell in the clutch, defying odds and physics alike. But this season, the stakes are different. It's the last stand, and maybe the most delicate one yet. Losing Kevin Looney's rugged glue and welcoming rookies like Alex Tui and Will Richardson feels like stacking cards against a hurricane-promising talent but untested armor when the pressure climbs and the lights glare. It's a lineup that screams for health, timing, and maybe a miracle or two. The coaching chess under Steve Kerr is evolving fast, and quietly the pressure mounts. Does he double down on patience with Kuminga, hoping the young star's ambitions will realign? Or does he pivot boldly, flipping pieces mid-game to salvage depth, stability, and toughness that can weather any Western storm? We all know Kerr's brilliance, but even a mind like his can only do so much when the front office's hands are tied by cap space and calculus. And here's where things get personal. The locker room, The brotherhood that exploded in the dynasty's prime is starting to feel the weight of these unresolved questions. Steph, ever the heartbeat of this era, carries more than just the ball. He shoulders the legacy of every shot missed, every comeback won, every whispered doubt. Draymond's fiery spirit is both a rallying cry and sometimes a combustible fuse that can tilt momentum in seconds. Jimmy Butler's gritty swagger adds a new dynamic, mixing old-school toughness with the flair of a fierce competitor who refuses to surrender even an inch. Behind them, Kuminga's silence says more than any soundbite. He's the wild card, the question mark, the crack in the armor that could either be sealed with renewed commitment or pry open fissures that echo through the roster's cohesion and identity. This is more than just a basketball decision. It's a statement about the future of this franchise, the legacy of the Splash era, and the brutal reality of competing in a league where youth and health dictate the ultimate fates. What if keeping Kuminga at a price that ties the teams? Flexibility scars us in the long run? What if trading him leaves us weaker, but saves us from cap hell? What if Horford's experience is enough to shield Curry's fragile frame? What if he breaks down? These questions don't just haunt the front office, they sear into the soul of every fan who's watched through every triumph and heartbreak, every buzzer beater and gut punch. Because to we who live and breathe Golden State, this isn't just a game. It's a war for the soul of our city, our culture, our family. The narrative unfolding now is as raw and volatile as a late-game possession with the clock winding down. History teeters on the edge. Will this be a dynasty reborn from the fires of negotiation and roster sculpting? Or the slow fade of a once great era, drawing to a close as youthful chance evades us and the Western Conference swallows legacy whole? Remember the nights when Steph bore the weight of impossible expectations and still netted those dagger threes? When Draymond's roar rattled opponents' bones? When we believed no mountain was too tall, no comeback too steep? Those moments guide us now, whispers of glory and heartbreak that sharpen the pain and promise with every front office whisper and every trade rumor. As someone who has lived through every championship parade and every crushing playoff exit, I can feel it. Deep in my chest, something seismic is happening, an inflection point. This roster, this chemistry, this fragile constellation of stars and role players either coalesces into a new dynasty's ignition or splinters into the echoes of what once was. No more room for soft landings or optimism neatly packaged. This is the raw heart of Golden State now, a battleground where every decision, every contract, every hustle play defies fate. I want to see your fierce takes right now. Who stays? Who goes? Who becomes the spark that lights us back up? Drop your no-holds-barred, ride-or-die cries below. Dub Nation is waiting for the truth. And I'm here, ready to throw down with you in the fire of this next chapter.